This week in IT, Microsoft announces that its source code was leaked by hacking group Lapsus. HP warns of a serious remote code execution flaw in many of its printers. Nvidia announces a new ARM superchip for data centers. Jira gets a new app for Microsoft Teams, and there's much more. So let's start with the biggest news of the week, which is the Lapsus hack on Microsoft that ended up with source code for Bing and Cortana being leaked onto the internet. Now, how this all started was that on March 20th, a screenshot was posted on Telegram showing a web page, an Azure DevOps web page, and some code repositories for Bing, Cortana, and Bing Maps. And then later on, Lapsus leaked a 37 gigabyte file onto a torrent, so basically making this code publicly available. Now, it seems that 90% of Microsoft Bing source code was in this file, and about 45% of Bing Maps and Cortana. Now, for Microsoft's part, they have confirmed this leak and that the code is genuine, but they are saying that, well, we don't rely on code secrecy as a security feature. So the fact that this code is leaked on the internet isn't really a security issue as far as Microsoft is concerned. And that's great to hear, of course. Now, Microsoft says that this resulted from the hack of a single account and that its security operations center was actually monitoring this hack while it was in progress, and they were able to stop it in its tracks. Now, that's great to hear. So I think there are a couple of things that we have to understand from this. And the first thing is that maybe Microsoft isn't securing its DevOps repositories in Azure as well as it could be, of course. But maybe it doesn't really matter, if Microsoft is saying, well, the code, it's bad, of course, if it gets leaked, but it's not really a security issue. So Microsoft is saying, while this affected the code, it didn't affect any customers in any way whatsoever. So it may be, of course, that Microsoft has a higher level of security for customer data than it does for its own source code. Now, I don't know whether that's the case or not, but it could be, of course. So I don't think this is really something that you need to worry about, of course. A lot of enterprises rely on Microsoft technologies like Azure AD and Windows Server Active Directory for, of course, their identity management, which is the basis of the entire security stack. But I don't think that this hack should really cause any concern. In another piece of news, Okta updated information about a security incident that started back in January for them, where again a single third-party contractor account was compromised. Now, Okta says that this third-party contractor only had the ability to reset user passwords. If you're not familiar, Okta is also a big enterprise identity management company, so it kind of competes with Microsoft Active Directory. So of course, again, this could potentially be concerning. Okta is saying, well, we're only going to notify customers that were potentially affected, and no point did it go beyond the ability of being able to reset a password. But in my mind, that is actually more serious than the Microsoft hack and is quite concerning, especially if an enterprise is relying on Okta for their identity management, of course. And in other security news this week, HP has announced that some of its printer models are being affected by a remote code execution flaw. And there are a couple of things that you can do about this if you're affected by one of the models. So the models affected are LaserJet Pro, OfficeJet, PageWide Pro, Large Format, Enterprise, as well as DeskJet models. So HP has said you can either go out and install firmware updates that it's recently made available for the models mentioned, or there's also a mitigation available which basically involves disabling a particular network protocol, and of course you can do that by accessing the web server of your printers and logging in and disabling that. So basically at the moment there are two options. Now, of course, this is a big issue potentially if you have a lot of these devices in your enterprise, and being able to update all of these devices, you need to go and do that now and make sure that they stay secure. So this week Jira announced that it's got a new app available for Microsoft Teams. Now, of course, this is really important because the integration between Jira and Teams is a big thing in terms of productivity, collaboration with developers and the entire team that's responsible for producing software. And of course, Microsoft Teams, especially in this sphere, is particularly in competition with Slack, which is often a more popular choice for developers. So there are several new features in this app that really make it stand out. So users will be able to receive and customize their Jira notifications, and there's a convenient Jira tab in the personal view where users can see issues assigned to them directly in Teams, and there's no context switching necessary. So the new app has a built-in feature that turns Teams chat into a comment or even a new issue on Jira. Edit Jira issues that are assigned to participants, and there are actionable Jira link cards in Teams chat that allow users to directly edit fields, add comments, and update the status of an issue right from Microsoft Teams chat. Now, while there has been some Jira integration with Teams before, this is designed to work with Jira Cloud, and of course that's a very popular solution for developers. I think that Jira is probably the most popular project management tool for developers out there, so this is very welcome news, of course, for those enterprises also working with Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft is rolling out an optional preview for Windows 10 users right now that updates the search experience in Windows 10. Now this is for people logged into Windows 10 with a work or school account. And what it does is basically show the latest files, people, documents and things going on in an organization. And it just makes that search experience more relevant to somebody's work. Now it's interesting that this is in preview only for Windows 10 at the moment. So I'm not quite sure when this is intended to come to Windows 11 or why this is going out to Windows 10 only at this stage. Maybe, of course, because the search experience in Windows 11 is already a little bit different. So this is something that you will need to be signed into Windows with a work or school account for it to work. Now, I suspect that we will see this roll out for everybody in April's Patch Tuesday updates, which are coming in a couple of weeks. But if you want to install this and just see how it works, if you're an IT administrator and want to get a heads up on this update in advance, then it's an optional update. Of course, you just need to hit check updates in Windows Update, and you should see this as an option on Windows 10. And if you have a Microsoft 365 tenant, of course, you're also able to switch this feature off if you don't want it to roll out to your Windows 10 users. And you can do that in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. This week, Nvidia announced that it's releasing in 2023 a new ARM superchip for data centers. Now the design of this chip is quite similar in some ways to the new chip that Apple recently announced as part of its Mac Mini Studio. So basically this is two ARM chips put together on a single die and some kind of bridge between them that allows them to communicate really effectively without any kind of delay. Now the chip is going to have 144 high performance cores and 1 terabyte of secondary memory. So the chip is designed for high-performance computing, artificial intelligence, and hyperscale applications. And they're claiming that it's 2 times more power efficient than AMD's EPYC processors and considerably faster. So of course ARM in the data center going forward is going to be a real thing because of the cost of energy shooting through the roof, of course, recently. And you can imagine companies that have thousands of servers in a data center need to be as power efficient as possible, but retaining as much power as possible to run all of these new applications and use cases that we have for things like artificial intelligence. So while ARM only had 5.4% of the server chip market in the last quarter of 2021, going forward I can really see ARM just, going through the roof in the data center. I think it just has to because of the situation we have with energy prices and the cost of doing this kind of computing on scale today. So if you'd like to see more news like this every week, please subscribe to the channel and please hit the like button because it really helps YouTube to push this video so that more people get to see it. That's it from me from this week, and I'll see you next time.